hazardous debris removal and should be finished very soon. They're estimating they've completed about 75% of Eaton up in the Altadena area. The EPA has surveyed more than 6,500 properties and will continue to do this until it's completed. 4,330 have been cleared and 1,735 have been deferred to Phase 2. There are roughly 467 properties remaining. I'm also glad to report that Phase 2 private property debris removal began last week, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is gearing up to get more properties cleared this week. We still have a long way to go, but the progress is a testament to the incredible commitment of our federal partners, state partners, and the County Department of Public Works, and of course our impacted property owners who have quickly turned in their right of entry forms. As of today, 3,909 right of entry forms have been received from the Altadena fire, which is 61% of the total impacted homes. I want to remind all residents to check the maps available online that track the status of Phase 1 and Phase 2 debris removal and the right of entry form submissions. Please continue to encourage friends and neighbors to submit their right of entry forms as quickly as possible. Debris removal is a crucial step toward our rebuilding. The county stands ready to support our residents to rebuild their home as quickly as possible. Additionally, the county's one-stop shop in Altadena is up and running, and this is a comprehensive permitting center which will be in the community until Altadena is rebuilt. Our residents will have access to all necessary permitting departments to efficiently guide and approve the rebuilding of their homes and, of course, the businesses. Recovery and rebuilding will continue to be my top priority. I was in the community again over the weekend speaking with impacted residents and our teams that are on the ground. I am continually heartened by the hope of our community members and the dedication of those helping to rebuild our community. There are so many encouraging examples of the progress we're making toward recovery. For example, today, the grocery outlet is reopening in Altadena. This beloved locally owned market is a staple in the community and has been sorely missed over the last month. On the side of the grocery outlet building, there's a beautiful mural celebrating Altadena. Right next to it, a massive sign that reads, "Altadena strong, we will rebuild." What a symbol of hope for every person who shops there and who drives past that building on Lake Avenue. It is a powerful reminder that we will get through this and restore a sense of normalcy for our homes and businesses together. With that, I would like to introduce Supervisor Lindsay Horvath from the 3rd District.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I first want to report our board action yesterday, which included a 6-month eviction protection for workers and small business owners impacted by the fire. This motion includes $10 million directed towards rent relief countywide, and we know this is critical at a time when people are worrying how they're going to pay their rent when they lost their job, when they lost their place of employment to these fires. We're giving them just a little bit of targeted relief. First, the first Palisades property was completely cleared of Phase 1 and Phase 2 debris removal. We are moving with unprecedented speed and urgency in the Palisades fire burn area, and we want to thank all of our partners who are working in collaboration and partnership to make sure that we are moving with that kind of efficiency. Our Department of Beaches and Harbors, as well as our state partners, have stepped up to protect our coastline, removing large debris from beaches, and they are also testing sediment at Topanga and Will Rogers beaches. We know those areas are of particular interest. We are paying attention to them, and we're working with all of our partners to protect our coastline. These test results showed that the material was not hazardous to beachgoers or to our environment. However, testing will continue, and if you do see fire debris on the beach, you can report it to a lifeguard, or you can call us at Los Angeles County 424-526-7777. The county has also established a resident relief fund, and The interest form is now available at recovery.lacounty.gov. Effective Monday, February 24th, the new DRC operating hours will be Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., and our disaster recovery centers will now be closed on Sundays. You'll be able to get confirmation when you submit your right of entry form and when it's transmitted to our Army Corps, and I know our partners are here to talk about the progress that they've been making. I also want to address the landfill debris plan. As we know, there's been a lot of frustration in the community, and I think that's resulted from our inability to provide basic answers to residents' questions on what the plan details are. It is clear to us at Los Angeles County that our board does not ultimately decide where and how debris is disposed, and nor do we license landfills. That authority rests with the state to select, license, and ensure the safety of communities surrounding the landfills in partnership with our federal government. We requested our state partners to share their plans here today. And I am told that they were unavailable. We were hopeful they were able to join us, but obviously that is also disappointing because proactive communication and transparency are essential. My office hosted 2 town halls last week to engage the community in this conversation. As we know, getting clear answers to people's questions is really what helps to assure people that the plan that we have developed is well thought through and has their safety in mind. So I will continue to ask the questions that our community deserves the answers to, and until we have those answers, I will continue to ask the questions. I know that this matter is scheduled to be discussed at our board next Tuesday. We will continue discussing it with the community, and we know that they deserve answers in order to know that their communities will be safe. With that, I will turn it now to Bill Dunbar, Information Officer from U.S. EPA.
Thank you very much. Good morning. My name is Bill Dunbar. I'm a Public Information Officer with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and I'm here to bring good news. Pleased to report that this morning we've hit another major milestone since EPA began our removals of household hazardous materials and lithium batteries on January 28. As of last night, of the 13,000 plus properties impacted by the fires, EPA has completed over 80% of our work to conduct our portion of the recovery process, which we have been calling Phase 1. Specifically, we've completed household hazardous material removals at over 8,000 properties and identified another 3,400 that we are deferring to our partners at the Army Corps of Engineers. I know that there is some question about this part of the process, which has been called Phase 2 deferred. EPA defers to Phase 2 those properties where there are unsafe conditions for our workers, and that those conditions prevent them from completing the Phase 1 hazardous household hazardous material removal. In these cases, we deferred the Phase 1 removal to the Corps, and the kinds of impediments that we might run into are damaged walls, collapsed ceilings, or upper floors, maybe some large debris such as trees or heavy metal, where the Corps is more capable of tackling that difficulty than we are. And to perhaps provide a little more information on that, I'm going to pass it on to Colonel Eric Swenson of the Army Corps of Engineers.
Good morning, LA County. My name is Colonel Eric Swenson. I'm the Army Corps of Engineers Recovery Field Office Commander for this operation. I just want to start by thanking the County Board of Supervisors for the opportunity to provide this update on Army Corps of Engineer progress in Phase 2 of debris removal. Our team remains committed to this mission, working diligently and safely to help families and communities take a big step forward in this recovery and rebuilding process. So in Phase 2, the removal of fire-related debris is well underway. Our teams are actively clearing properties as we speak, ensuring we do so safely, efficiently, and with environmental stewardship in mind. USACE, the Army Corps of Engineers, has mobilized nearly 750 personnel, and these numbers will continue to grow over the coming weeks as we ramp up our efforts till we are fully staffed to be able to remove the debris from these communities. Just a quick update. Yesterday we had 15 what I call primary debris crews out removing the fire ash and debris from damaged properties in both the Palisades and Eaton fire impacted areas. We also had 25 asbestos remediation crews out actively working to remove the asbestos hazards so that our primary debris crews can go out and follow them to remove the remainder of the Phase 2 debris. We also had over 80 teams out doing site assessments. That's kind of our first step so we understand what the hazards are and what equipment we need to bring before those debris crews show up. We are working across both fire impacted areas and making great progress. We also began debris removal on the Pacific Palisades Charter High School, Pali High. That has been ongoing for several days, and it's really exciting for the Palisades community, as we know that is a fixture and a really important building in many lives in that community. 4 of the 5 schools within the Pasadena Unified School District that we were tasked to clear have had their primary ash and debris removed. We are working with the school district leaders, closing out those sites and finishing the paperwork so that we can complete those projects and return those to the school district to start their next phase of the rebuilding process so we can get our kids, your kids, back in a proper school, back in your communities. I just want to hit a couple topics here. How we remove and haul debris. I know if you've heard me before, I talk about this as often as people will listen. Once a property is cleared for Phase 2, our crews carefully remove fire debris, including structural remains, ash, and any hazardous materials that we may find, the majority of which are taken out by the EPA. Packaging the debris. The debris is all sorted on site. We use what we call the wet method, so we wet everything down to prevent any ash or dust from getting into the air. We also monitor all of our operations using air monitors, both individual, perimeter, and sensitive site monitors. That helps us adjust our techniques to ensure that we are preventing any dust from getting into the air. For transport, that wet material is transported in the back of plastic-lined trucks that are sealed, and then the tarp for the truck goes down on top to secure all of that for transport to the final destination. Those final destinations could be a recycling center if it is clean concrete or recyclable metals, or it could be a certified permitted landfill, certified and permitted by the state of California for fire, ash, and debris. Also, we unveiled this week our public viewer. I encourage everyone to go out. There's a link on both recovery.lacounty.gov, also on the LA City website there's a link, and on the Army Corps of Engineers Los Angeles District website there's also a link to that viewer. It allows you to go on and get some basic information. We've also imported all the EPA status so you can see it all that information in one location. I think with that, I'll just close by thanking the community for your continual support and patience as we move through this process. We are committed. Our mission is to clear the way for rebuilding and recovery, and we want that more than anything for the community members and the survivors who were impacted by this fire. Again, if you haven't signed up for your right of entry, I encourage everyone to go to recovery.lacounty.gov, sign up for your right of entry, and allow us to get to your property as quickly as possible so that you can start the next phase of rebuilding here. Thank you. And I'll be followed by Dr. Farrer.
Good morning, and thank you so much. I want to express my gratitude to Supervisor Horvath, Supervisor Barger, and the entire team that's working so diligently to help us through this wildlife recovery. I especially appreciate everyone's consistent goal to remove debris as quickly as possible. The debris actually causes a lot of health risks in our communities. The faster we can get it out of the neighborhoods, the better off we all are in terms of starting the rebuilding process. Last week, we posted information about the LA County Comprehensive Post-Fire Assessment. The assessment plan is a coordinated effort involving multiple departments, agencies, and research institutions, leveraging expertise in environmental science, health, toxicology, and air quality to assess potential health risks and guide the recovery efforts. The plan includes air quality monitoring to detect harmful pollutants, including fine particulate matter, volatile organic compounds, and other byproducts that can affect respiratory health. Soil sampling is part of the plan as well, and that assesses potential contamination from heavy metals, dioxins, and other toxic residues that may have settled from the wildfire ash and debris. We're also doing water quality analysis to ascertain the impact of fire-related contaminants on drinking water sources and natural waterways. The work involves collecting and analyzing samples in areas most impacted by the fire to help assess the extent of environmental exposures, to identify any potential health risks, and to guide mitigation strategies to protect communities as they recover and rebuild. Findings from the partners collaborating on the assessment plan will be shared publicly and updated regularly to ensure transparency and provide residents with requested information. In addition, last night we held a town hall where AQMD representatives and people from the State Water Quality Board presented their initial results on air quality sampling and on the water sampling. We know that there have been a lot of questions and concerns about soil testing, so I want to take a moment to provide some additional information on what's happening now and what residents can expect moving forward. Right now, initial soil testing is actively underway in fire-impacted areas through a collaborative effort that includes the California Department of Toxic Substances Control, DTSC, the California Department of Public Health, and the LA Fire Health Study Consortium, which includes partners at Harvard, UCLA, UC Davis, UT Austin, USC, and Yale. In addition to the soil testing done by these partners, at Public Health, we've asked Rowe Associates to evaluate environmental conditions at fire-impacted properties, including public properties in the Los Angeles County within and near the Eaton and Palisades fire areas to quantify fire-related hazardous substances in soil and ash. The sampling is scheduled to begin this week, and it will continue through March. Information on each assessment is posted on our website, and that's the same place that results will be posted as they become available. We're also interested in ensuring that the health and social service needs of residents impacted by the Eaton and Palisades fires are addressed. To this end, this morning, in partnership with community members from the LA County Recovery Health and Services Task Force, we've launched a rapid needs assessment to make it easy to hear directly from you, impacted residents, about what you need. The survey is available online at recovery.lacounty.gov and on the Public Health Wildfire page in English and Spanish, and it takes probably about 10 minutes to complete. It's completely voluntary, and all of your responses are anonymous. We don't collect any personal identifying information. The results will be shared publicly, and they're used to inform local agencies, healthcare providers, and policymakers so they can respond to the community's most urgent needs. We encourage all residents that are impacted by the wildfires to take a few minutes and complete the survey so that you can share your experiences. This is the way that your voices will ensure that the responses and our response activities are going to meet your needs. For more information on the post-fire assessment and survey, please visit publichealth.lacounty.gov, and updates will continue to be posted there as well. I want to extend my deepest thanks in closing to the many partners and community residents across government, healthcare, and community organizations who are working tirelessly to guide our recovery efforts. The collaboration is essential, and we're really grateful. Thank you. And now I'm going to introduce...
Actually, you're the last speaker.
Questions.
Yes. We'll do question and answer session right now. If you have a question, please raise your hand, and we'll bring a microphone to you. We'll go right there in the back. Please name and media outlet. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, I'm Omar Lewis with KTLA 5 News. My question is for Supervisor Horvath. This morning, the LA Times released an article revealing text messages between you and the mayor where there were some frustrations expressed over the coordination or lack thereof. Have you ever been able to address this with the mayor, and what specific concerns did you have as far as that collaboration and how it could have been better?
Yeah, we have since discussed the subject of the text messages, and it's clear that we agree that the situation could have been handled better, and it needs to be handled better going forward. People want clear communication, they want clear answers, and they want us to coordinate, work together, and make sure that we are prioritizing their needs. So the mayor and I have had a conversation around that. We're clear, and it's time to focus on moving forward and making sure we're helping our residents.
Thank you. Any other questions? Right here in the middle.
Hi, this is Kate Cagle from Spectrum News 1. My question is for the EPA. There's been reporting about FEMA declining to do confirmation testing after the cleanup at individuals' properties. I wonder if you could speak to whether or not, in your department's view, is that 6 inches of soil that will be removed enough to remove contaminants, or does there need to be more testing in the soil after the cleanup?
That's a good question. It's a better question to be directed to FEMA, and perhaps Colonel Swanson can also address it. We know that in previous wildfire cleanups that EPA has been involved in, that 6 inches seems to be enough. We also know that this is not a pristine area, that humans have been here for quite a while. And so we could keep digging and digging and digging and continuing to test the soil and continuing to find contaminants that may not have been from the wildfire. So we think that 6 inches seems appropriate, but that's not a decision that EPA is making.
Colonel, is that something you wanted to weigh in on? Or?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. I think EPA's answer was accurate. There's legacy contaminants in the ground. There's naturally occurring contaminants in the ground. And the FEMA's authority, the authority we have under law is to remove the fire ash and debris, the contaminants, any of the concerns from this fire. And we know from a decade or more of doing fire ash and debris removal that by removing 6 inches, we are taking enough material and a little extra material to ensure that we have all of the fire ash and debris from this fire.
Thank you. Other questions? Right over here.
Hi, Tony Briscoe, LA Times. Wanted to ask the LA County officials whether or not there would be soil testing or any types of measures taken to make sure that properties that are cleaned meet California's cleanup standard before rebuilding can take place.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to let Dr. Ferrer answer that, because clearly, this is on both Supervisor Horvath and my radar as it relates to the fact that FEMA's not going to test, and we have a lot of residents that are concerned, and that's why Dr. Ferrer can elaborate. That's why we're doing initial testing right now, and then we're going to figure out a path moving forward. But Dr. Ferrer, if you want to follow up on that.
I thank you so much for the question, and I think Supervisor Barger actually gave the answer, which is that we know a lot of residents want that confirmatory soil testing. We're working with the state, and as I noted, I already posted a lot of other soil testing that's happening and will continue to happen to try to answer questions. Everybody who is doing rebuilding on their property wants to make sure that their conditions are optimal for that rebuild, but I think it's also correct to note that the soil may have been contaminated before. I mean, one good thing is the State Department, DTSC, has some soil sampling that they did before the fire, so we're going to be able to look at that. But we are working collaboratively with our state partners to figure out a way, and our academic partners, to try to get good information to people.
Did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to be clear. So without knowing whether the soil is contaminated or not, will rebuilding be allowed to move forward?
Yes, I mean, rebuilding is absolutely allowed once the cleanup happens. There's no requirement around what the soil samples need to be at. I mean, this is really an issue around safety after the rebuild, and people wanting to know that the area that they live in isn't really causing any exposures to dangerous contaminants that will continue to affect their health. So that's a reasonable question for people to ask after a fire of this magnitude, and we're going to do our best to get answers to that through a sampling strategy that's happening across multiple partners. But that is different than what has happened in previous fires and where people have had that confirmatory soil testing.
Thank you. Right here in the middle.
Good morning. Craig Figner with KNX News. I think for Supervisor Horvath. The question, two questions. The property that's been first to be cleared in the Palisades, was that an opt-in?
Yes.
Okay. And then my other question is the Army Corps of Engineers is taking debris to, the number that sticks in my head is 17 different locations or landfills across the state that are licensed for different levels of hazards. Do you not have that list of 17 locations?
So the county does have the list of 17 landfills that are permitted by the state to accept that debris. And so the way the process has worked, the county is leading the coordination on the ground here in Los Angeles County. The Army Corps asked the county which landfills were permitted to accept that debris, and that is how they got the list of 17 landfills that exist. They're permitted by the state, and the concerns that we then heard from the community were, how can you guarantee that that the debris that goes there is not hazardous to our health or toxic, I think was the word that they used, and who is enforcing that? These are state licenses, which is why we want our state partners to be able to speak to the process that they go through to provide that license and the enforcement mechanism to ensure people's safety. I think people deserve those answers, and we're going to work to get them for them.
Thank you. In the back.
Yeah, you mentioned that on Tuesday you'll be discussing this further about those landfills. Can you go into more detail about what you expect to discuss? Are we talking about relocating some of those different dump sites, or what that will look like?
Yeah, so this was originally on our agenda this Tuesday, and because of these questions, we want to make sure that we spend more time communicating with the community so they get the answers that they need. What is within the discretion of the Board of Supervisors is not whether they're licensed or whether they can operate. The discretion that we have as the Board of Supervisors are two things. Operating hours, can we extend them? And can we increase the tonnage that is allowed to come into the landfills on a daily basis? That is what is within our discretion, and that is what is being potentially discussed at our board meeting. But I think given the conversations that have happened in the community, the questions that are being asked, that is the discretion that exists with the board, and then that conversation may proceed on Tuesday.
Any other questions? Right over here.
I'm late. I apologize if this has already been asked, but I have a branding question. You guys historically have been referring to this as the Unified LA press conference. I see the Unified has dropped, and is that any sign of difficulty between the city and the county working together? We've seen that there seem to be some underlying tensions that have been revealed in some text messages. Is there a lack of unity between LA City and County?
Well, I'll let Supervisor Horvath address the last part of your question, but I can tell you as the representative over Altadena, the reason why I continued the press conferences as a supervisor and also as chair of the board representing Altadena was because my community felt that they were getting lost in the discussion. And so if you will note, every answer I give is specific to the Eaton fire, because that's the area that I represent, and Supervisor Horvath does the same for the area that she represents, and then I'll let her address the second part of your question. But for me, it's always been about having one voice for my community, but make no mistake, I am in contact with Mayor Bass as it relates to issues surrounding the money coming in and how it's going to be spent in both fires and other various issues, even on the one-stop centers that we have, in terms of coordination to make sure that we are, in fact, aligning in a way that is responsive to the constituents, whether they're LA City or LA County.
And at this stage, the county is the lead agency on the debris removal. We were the lead agency on the storm preparation. That has been largely the focus of our press conferences on Wednesday mornings, which is why they have continued. The city's invited to participate, but we really are the lead agency bringing everyone together. So we're doing this work not only for the unincorporated areas, but all of the incorporated cities too. So I know the Malibu mayor isn't here. I know the mayor of Pasadena isn't here, but we're doing this work for everybody. And so that's why the county is continuing to lead these press conferences on Wednesday to mark our progress.
Thank you. Any final questions? All right. If not, thank you for attending. We will have one-on-ones. If you'd like an individual interview, please approach the front. And if you'd like to interview in Spanish, we have spokespersons available as well. Just come over here to the right. Thank you.